All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that is actually the case. I did have a problem earlier where the webcam disconnected itself randomly, but that was before the stream began. So it took me a couple of minutes, but hopefully it will not happen again. Anyway, we've got our first super chat. We'll get to that first. Charlie Clank, liberated an independent Cyprus. Yes, you can sink Cyprus into the ocean too. Right now we're focused on basically Turkey proper. Again, there will be a link in the description, both on YouTube and Rumble, as well as pinned at the top of chat on YouTube. Please do go to Pixel Planet in your odd times throughout the day and help to sink Turkey into the ocean as retribution for constant griefing. They've got several streamers actually now working with them. So Clankdom is managing to fend off not one, but at least two fairly large streamers. And it's pretty funny. We can load hundreds of people on the server. And considering the damage that we've done now, most of Turkey has been destroyed, to be clear. Anatolia no longer really exists. Please don't go to the west of that, though. All of those red islands over there, if you do pixel them in, use the Greek medium blue that they have on their flag, because those are their islands, and they've been helpful. Some factions haven't really, I'm not naming names, done much in this war effort, despite being attacked repeatedly by Turkish players. But the Greeks, definitely, they've been pulling their weight, so we've got their back still. Anyway, lots and lots of news to cover today. Biden's epic Puerto Rico gaffe comes to mind. We'll be talking about Section 230, the nuke convoy, possibly headed towards Ukraine. I will elaborate upon that. I did make a video about that this morning, as well as on Herschel Walker. We'll be talking about the piece against him by the Daily Beast. I've got various thoughts. I will reiterate my thoughts from this morning as well. Let's make sure that we're live on Rumble here. I believe we are. I shouldn't have to refresh it just in order to see if I'm live. It's bullshit. I'm going to go full jank meltdown mode. You know it's bullshit. There's over 400 people watching, actually. But yeah, I've put that link up for those of you enjoying the Pixel Planet raids. I've told you that I'm not going to be really doing one-off videos about it, but I will continue mentioning it in streams. We're managing to crush our enemies despite having no dedicated streaming or videos at this point to that effect. By the way, if you want to get in on it, of course, some of you have large audiences. You can go ahead and make a Pixel Planet raid video too. Adam THM, good morning, Sticks. Just wanted to give another gas update. Gas went from $3.99 yesterday to $4.59 this morning. Let's go, Brandon. Interesting. SP Elite, YouTube unsubbed me, Sticks. Had to resub once I noticed. Many such cases. YouTube attempts to strangulate independent content creators as a prelude to trying to kick us all off the platform. They just want a joint platform where everything is either vacuous shorts bullshit to compete with TikTok, which is brainless, or it's long form and it's very sanitized. Princess, got a notification for the stream today after a week of not getting one. Symbolic belief, explain how caffeine is good for you. I experience side effects such as insomnia, anxiety, and mood swings. Talk about your life pre and post caffeine use. It doesn't affect my insomnia because I'm a deep insomniac anyway. Sometimes I drink an energy drink before bed. Doesn't keep me awake. I have no problems with it. In my opinion, it helps to stimulate vascularity. That is, that it simulates exercise without the muscle building impacts. It's not as good as exercise, but it's kind of a similar concept. If you got AFib or something, of course, you probably shouldn't have a lot of caffeine. Shades Bear, what do you think about the North Korea launch? Not even going to put it in the news docket because it's not without any historical precedent. I would point out that since 2017, they haven't done this, launching a missile over Japan or near any other nations. Usually it's just into the ocean. They're doing this because the United States is weak, and they know that there won't be a similar response to what Trump did the last time it happened. Do you remember that? When you had Patriot missile batteries brought to bear all over Japan and things like that. The North Koreans backed down, and there was a rapprochement, thus leading to various dealings with the DPRK because we had someone running the Western sphere that was competent. Unfortunately, we don't have that right now. Fox P2. For the clankers in Pennsylvania, I had a conversation via text with a Cartwright campaigner, and he wants to ban assault rifles. Do your civic duty and vote for someone other than Cartwright who wants to deny you your rights. So yeah, we're sinking the Turks. I'll get into the news in a moment. They're still trying to fight back, but it's not working well for them. They're hoping to distract us in repairing chunks of clankdom that they've griefed, but I don't care. You can, if you want to, repair the Ouroboros or whatever down in Africa, but it doesn't really matter. We're just we're single-mindedly turning Turkey into a giant ocean. First news story of the day from SCOTUS blog. New, SCOTUS agrees to take up 9 new cases, including Gonzalez versus Google, involving the scope of tech companies' immunity under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Here's my thoughts on this. Some people are flipping out and they're like, no, the Supreme Court's going to get rid of 230. It'll destroy the internet. When SCOTUS takes up a case like that, you can assume the conservative justices are the ones taking it up. They could easily rule, and I have a hunch that this is what will be the ruling, that 230 remains intact. 230 itself, it's clearly not unconstitutional. There's no problem with it per se. And the problem with it, it's been identified by Clarence Thomas openly, which is why I think that he's one of the 5 that agreed to take up the case. In a 5-4 decision, they will probably amend Section 230. What they will say is that you cannot be both a platform and a publisher. This solves all of our problems with big tech. If you're going to go after behavior on your platforms that is not unlawful, political speech, etc., then you can't make the excuse you need 230 anymore, because 230 was meant to be a shield for U.S. tech firms so that litigation against them generally would be absent because they're platforming third parties. The idea is shifting the onus, the burden legally to those third parties. Otherwise, you can't moderate everything. There's too much content. While these companies have continued to bitch and moan about the fact that they're not capable of moderating everything, so they need 230, they're acting as publishers of lawful speech. They're collating, algorithmically distorting, and banning things and promoting things on a political and social basis. Well, if you have the capability of doing that, then you should definitely be open to lawsuits with regards to illegal content not being removed in a proper, orderly fashion. Twitter has definitely had this problem with various illicit material over time, defamation, botting, etc. YouTube and Twitter ignore these things largely in favor of going after people who have offended somebody. That's not the purpose of 230. I am very hopeful that that will be their final decision. I don't think they strike 230 down. It's clearly not unlawful. I don't think that they open up these companies to limitless litigation. If they just open up the companies to litigation, it'll be mostly about illegal content. Thus, the sites will have to actually go after that content and get rid of it and fucking leave people alone who are simply being offensive by the standards of somebody who looks for a reason to be offended. Hismanai, happy clank. Fubar 2020, will Russian hackers shut down America's power grids? No, I don't think so. That would be bad for business with China, and China is their ally. OMG puppies, the world isn't worried about Russia starting a nuclear war. They're worried about America starting a nuclear war. We can all see the Biden admin is rudderless, people like Victoria Nuland. I'm worried about the fact that there's at least the vague possibility Russia could use a tactical nuke. I just don't think it's likely given the circumstances. Trevor Murray, work cannot stop this security guard from clanking. Excellent. Get lots of guns. I'm assuming you're not in California. I think they fired all their security guards unless you're working for a politician or something like that. I bet all the California politicians are like, ah, shit, it's a tax on us poor politicians. We had to hire extra security because, nobody else is allowed to do anything. Long Don John, can you see any mushroom clouds yet? No, although I did make a stir fry last night, and I realized that oyster mushrooms in this country are really cheap, actually. They're cheaper than the normal button mushrooms that a lot of people use. Shark dentures, I quit caffeine about 4 to 6 years ago. After a week-long withdrawal headache, I have no intention of ever going back. I have no intention of ever stopping caffeine. Coffee is good. Black tea is good. Energy drinks are real good. Next news story. Nuclear weapons convoy sparks fears Putin could be preparing to send a signal to the West. Train operated by secretive nuclear division spotted in central Russia headed towards the front line in Ukraine. I already analyzed this morning. Just because you have nuclear-capable missile systems moving into an area, number one, does not necessitate that you're going to use them. Number two, it doesn't necessitate they even have warheads in them. It could just be for show. In my opinion, Russia is adopting the Kissinger madman strategy, move the nukes into place. Again, whether they're real nukes or not is completely meaningless. Move them into place and use them as bargaining. Get them closer to Europe. The Europeans complain and you say, well, come to the fucking table and talk to us. It's sort of like a Cuban Missile Crisis situation, or U.S. nuclear systems in Turkey and parts of the Eastern Europe during the Cold War. We've done this before. This is the same old game that we've seen since the 1960s. It's brinksmanship. It's a bad idea. It could pop off a world war, potentially. It's just that all things considered, at any given single moment, that's not likely. My hope is that cooler heads will prevail. It looks more like Russia intends to try to dominate the regions it's annexed, which is where it's been operating. It got driven out of the north of the country, and a lot of people think that was a feint. I agree with this. They're focusing their manpower. They're trying to surge through, lock things down, put nuclear systems there potentially. And the problem for the Ukrainians is that if the Russians have pushed you out of a province and put nuclear weapons in that province, it makes attacking that area a hell of a lot more risky for multiple reasons. It seems like that's probably what's going on here. And you don't know if the nukes are live or not. It could be a complete bluff. It could be that they're just nuclear capable launchers. There's no warhead in them at all. They're not even active. Maybe they don't even work. But it doesn't matter. Do you really want to strike an area with rockets when there's a nuclear weapon potentially sitting there? Probably not. So I think that Russia wants to hold on to what it's got and wants to dissuade further attacks. I think it wants to drive the Ukrainians back and force them to, they'll probably do another feint to distract their forces while the threat of nuclear war looms over them. And eventually they're hoping Zelensky gets tired of the shtick and backs down. I don't think that'll happen, though. It's not entirely clear that Russia is going to be able to maintain all of the areas it's trying to annex. They might get some of it. In fact, I think if they get one province under their belt, they'll be happy with that because at least they took over the province. Then they'll use it as diplomatic leverage and say, well, if you speak Russian in Eastern Ukraine, you're welcome here. Come across the border and work for us Russians instead. You know, we're marginally less corrupt than the Ukrainian regime, or at least we were reckoned to be so a couple of years ago. By the way, Ukraine is capable of developing nuclear weapons. It does have the capability, especially since we keep giving them lots and lots of money. I don't think that Russia is going to nuke anyone, though. I think that it's bullshit. No, I think it's a feint. It's Kissinger style. There's no reason why they would use tactical nuclear weapons. If you're going to do the gung-ho, we're winning, everything's fine argument, doing that would probably cause your own population to revolt. So I think it's a long shot that Russia actually pops off with the bomb. Joey D45 on Rumble. Don't forget about the grifties.com. We're losing ground to many grifters. Yeah, the problem is I can't focus on both the grifties and Pixel Planet at the same time, and sinking Turkey is just so fun. Watching their streamers night after night get frustrated because we keep undoing the damage that they do while just debilitating the entirety of Anatolia is pretty funny. You can, by the way, people on Pixel Planet who support the glorious war effort, since we are the war leaders of this effort, you can go and help rebuild Clankdom too in your odd moments. Some of your countries seem to have repaired themselves more or less. I think the Bulgarians are still having some problems. Greece is making headway. I think they had griefed Serbia at one point, but the Serbs, I think, invaded Bosnia here and took over Kosovo. Italy seems to be doing okay, though. You can dedicate a few Italians. Send in a Roman legion. We need them. We are incapable of doing it entirely ourselves. Uncle Sam wants you. Uncle Tarl, I guess. A Spartan brain tumor. Do you think the Uranium One deal has anything to do with the current threats? No, I don't make that connection, no. Merrick Grimaldus. Fallout, World War III, October 23rd. Lol, it'd be ironic. Yeah, World War III should be pretty soon, according to Fallout lore, although it takes place, I think, what, a century from now or something. We have to annex Canada first. Eric Willison, Sticks, your meal descriptions sound tasty. You should do some cooking videos on alt tech sites for us visual learners. Deafening clank. I'd love to do that, and I will once I get a better recording setup. Like if we move and we get like a better designed kitchen, ours is relatively small, little more room, and I can get like a camera going, you know, and a better recording in general. Maybe some lighting to make it look good, because the biggest criticism of my food is never the taste. It's always that it looks like shit. But I cook a lot of Indian food. The shittier it looks, the tastier it tends to be. Aloo palak looks like baby shit with pieces of potato floating around in it. It's one of the greatest things you'll have. Palak paneer. I fucking made my own cheese at home. I made my own paneer. You can turn that into cottage cheese pretty easy if you want to. It's actually not difficult. Lance Johnson, as a Finn, I hope you are right. You have been before. Clank. But yeah, our kitchen is a little bit on the compact side. It's not bad, but it's not quite big enough. I would like to have more storage space and shit. And right now, the closet with the food is all the way across the room. So it doesn't, the design is okay. There's nothing terribly wrong with it, but it could be better. And I want some nice big shelves and herbs hanging down and all that shit. It's going to look like Martha Stewart moved in, I guess. The Agao faces, goddamn Putin. I didn't buy my 10mm hand cannon yet. Also, Alzheimer's Biden visiting my hometown in Puerto Rico would be the show. Next news story. We will talk about Puerto Rico Biden later. That's one hell of a fucking gaffe. Pro-life Herschel Walker paid for girlfriend's abortion. Breaking news from the Daily Beast. October surprise. Herschel Walker probably is a hypocrite. He's a fucking politician. What do you expect? Here's my analysis of this. The first problem is that while you have a receipt for an abortion, you know she had one. That occurred. We know Herschel Walker gave her money contemporary to that time period and a get well card. Please tell me, I am arguing devil's advocate because I have a feeling that Walker did indeed do this. Not that it affects me giving a shit or anything. It's from 2009. Of all things, I don't really care. Hypocrisy, yes, it rankles me. Sometimes you have to hold your nose even with some of the MAGA candidates because of the religiosity and hypocrisy aspect. Here's the thing, though, with Herschel Walker. Devil's advocate mode on. Do we know that the get well soon card had anything to do with having an abortion? No. Do we know that the payment had anything to do with the abortion? No. We don't have we assume that. We don't have any particular evidence of it. His son dogpiled him within 24 hours, though, saying, well, the real problem is our father chased us around to multiple states because of his domestic violence and anger problems. Yeah, I can believe it. The man has trouble. The problem, as far as this affecting the race for the Democrats, they're hoping it to be an October surprise. The first problem is that most voters have made up their minds. The second problem is the Daily Beast and its echo chamber of replication on the internet is not going to affect the voting of most people that are dedicated Herschel Walker voters. If they see the story, they're seeing a rebuttal to it. They'll see some Republican site that posts, well, the Democrats are being retarded with regards to Herschel Walker. Who cares what happened in 2009? This is 2022, and here's what Warnock stands for. More taxes, more crime. They'll deflect on the issue, so it's not going to change their votes. There aren't that many independent voters left to make up their minds. And what I analyzed this morning is that what will happen is that people will see this story, and it'll impact their beliefs about Herschel Walker, potentially. For many of them, it won't. For some of them, it will. And you do have a 50-50 race there, so it could actually get Warnock elected. You only need a few tens of thousands of people. It's not a large audience that you need to swing. The problem is that every day subsequent, they're not going to be thinking about Herschel Walker being a hypocrite on abortion, potentially. They're going to be thinking about how much it just cost to gas up their car. They're going to be thinking about how much they paid for groceries. They're going to be thinking about, do I have to take out a credit card to buy infant formula right now because I just ain't making it? When they get the report for unemployment, inflation, GDP numbers in October, those are much more likely to be an October surprise. If inflation upticks at this point, the Democrats have fucking lost the plot. They're not going to be thinking about Herschel Walker's girlfriend. Some of them may be, certain evangelical voters, and Warnock is a lay minister, just to be clear. The Democratic candidate works as a reverend effectively. But it hasn't helped him so far with the rather religious Baptist communities, especially the black communities in Georgia. It's still a 50-50 race. Well, if Warnock is so goddamn powerful, why is he sometimes behind Walker in the polls? I don't expect this to do much. I expect it to maybe tilt the race a couple of points, but then there's one other kicker. Then you get a slight advantage for Warnock. But what if there's a polling skew? I believe there is. 1.5, 2 points. That's all you would need to offset the issue. I don't expect this to be like major scandal status, that it knocks him out completely or anything like that. It's No, it's not even a contemporary scandal. This isn't Herschel Walker raped a woman last year. This is 2009, and you technically don't actually have any proof at all. It's devil's advocate. I mean, 99% chance that it's true, to be clear. I'm not defending him on this, but we don't have proof of it. We know that someone he dated got an abortion. We know he sent her money. We don't know that those two things are explicitly connected. It wouldn't hold up in a courtroom. Wish more people would delve into some legalese and think of things from that perspective instead of the inevitably biased perspective of just hopeful, wishful thinking. The Grizzly, hey Sticks, do you think you will do another Rumble stream? I'd like to ask things that wouldn't get me banned for my bank account seized 5 years ago. Thanks, further, Banana Biden. Yeah, I can do more Rumble streams. Yeah. Martha Stewart, I'd be honored to decorate your home, Sticks. Junkie96, just made some candy corn mead for spooky month. Fermentation is a great hobby to get into. That sounds disgusting. You know where candy corn deserves to be? In the trash. Salty Iron Worker, if Republicans take the House and Senate, who do we want as Speaker and Senate Majority Leader? Would Rand Paul be good as Speaker? Well, he's in the Senate, so Majority Leader, he'd do a good job, yeah. And Josh Hawley, a good majority pick. Thanks for the political education every day. Yeah, Rand Paul would be a natural go-to, but I'm biased because I like Rand Paul. Ultimately, they may lean more towards Ted Cruz, which I think would be hilarious. It wouldn't be a good idea, but it'd be a funny one. We'd get plenty of cringe takes, that's for sure. In the House, I don't know, honestly. Off the top of my head, I couldn't nominate somebody myself. Thomas Finton, curious Sticks, but in your opinion, what are the main similarities and differences between corrupt organized religions and cultural Marx leftoid orthodoxies? They operate very similarly. There is no huge overarching difference. You've got the authoritarianism, the covering up of corruption, the revisionism, and various other problems. There will be some people who will construe that as me saying, fuck Jesus, or something like that. I'm simply saying organized religion is a cancer on the world. So is communism. Why do you think the commies wanted to get rid of religion? They didn't want the competition. Greentop LLC, does Rumble have an Android app? I'm not actually sure. Yeah. Next news story. The Supreme Court will begin a new term with more contentious cases on its docket. There's one case in here that really I appreciate, and I think that I can guess where it will go. Affirmative action. Yes, due to that Harvard case involving admissions. My hope is that the Supreme Court rules that affirmative action, generally speaking, when it has to do with any public edifice, is unconstitutional. I hope that they even go further than that and say private edifices should not be using affirmative action. If you're hiring people based on the color of their skin, that's not what equal protection under the law is meant to be. It's not meant to be more reparations or something like that. It's meant to treat people equally. You can't use inequality in hiring or admissions to address inequality that already happened. That's my hope, and it's possible they'll rule that way. I think it's more likely they constrain it to public sector, so government jobs, educational facilities that take any taxpayer funds, so in effect a private school. If you want to have a historically black college and only admit black people, go ahead, nobody cares. Women's college, go ahead, nobody cares. I noticed that there are no dedicated white male colleges out there, but we'll get past that for the moment. I guess they'd finally have a green light to do so if this ends up happening. I think they'll constrain it. Government edifices, legal edifices, state edifices, anything educational in nature, the health system. They'll limit it to that. I don't think they'll extend it further. So it'll be a good ruling. It'll take care of the actual plaintiff's issue with discriminatory admissions policies, skewing test scores. So Asian students get and white students get points deducted if they try to go to an Ivy League school. And if you're black or Native American or something, you get them added on. That's blatant discrimination in every possible sense of the word. It's a form of inequality. The idea that it addresses inequality is a laughable proposition, and hopefully they, at the very least, they strike it down for that purpose. I think it's likely. I think that it'll be a 5-4. Possibly a 6-3. You might be able to get one of the liberals to sign on in a partial dissent. Say, well, I wouldn't have gone this far. The very concept of discrimination within this particular realm, I can sign on to that concept. You get that. You've had it's like with John Roberts signing on to getting rid of Roe v. Wade and saying, well, I wouldn't have gone that far, but we had to uphold in the Dobbs decision. So I sign on to that part. Ultimately, I vote in favor, but I have my reservations. You'll probably get that sort of case on affirmative action. The landlord harassment channel. Try to piss the cat off so that she'll hiss. I don't want to piss the kitty off. She pisses me off sometime. By the way, I've got part of my Pimpulus stash back here. My Hulk. That company for 6 weeks. I'll be talking about this is not doing production because energy prices are so high. So they're hoping to limit the supply in order to make it more lucrative to actually produce the product. Everything goes up 5-10 cents a unit. So I had my closet stocked full of yummy veggies and beans and shit like that for a while now. I made a good decision again. Don't have enough pickles over there. I should probably look into that. God, pickled onions are good, by the way. Mark F. I need Andy 6 to czar bomb my worthless throat. But can you slit it? Is it steamy, dreamy, perhaps a little bit creamy? Caleb Arbor. Is it just me or does Quinnipiac only timely release polls when other pollsters release polls showing Republicans winning just to screw the aggregate? Yeah, the timing of poll releasing sometimes is slightly suspect. I have questions. Thomas Finton, thoughts on the Gonzalez versus Google case regarding Section 230 that is also going to be heard by SCOTUS? I already covered that, but I'll do a recap. Anything good likely to come out of it or no? My hope is that they simply amend 230 to make one thing clear. You can be a publisher or a platform, but you can't be both. 230 was incepted to protect you against lawsuits because you can't moderate the content. There's no way to have a working model if you're YouTube or Twitter if you have to live moderate literally everything. You don't have the means to do it even with AI. They still struggle. So if you're making that argument, you should not also be able to say, and we're dedicating a significant proportion of our resources to algorithmically demoting or banning content which is lawful. Because the lawful content's not a problem for legal purposes. Some pink-haired freak of nature gets offended at a Twitter post. That's not against the law. Let them have a fucking temper tantrum. But if you're going to ban the person that offended them, you're taking someone and time and resources and money and dedicating it to a purpose that doesn't have to do with why Section 230 exists. My hope is some clanker out there knows a staffer that in the White House, or in SCOTUS, that knows one of the people that works with the justices, because most of them are boomers and probably don't fully understand the way the internet functions, and why going further than that, going beyond amending it to getting rid of it or upholding it in its current form, that's arguably just as bad, would be terrible for the internet. If SCOTUS upholds it fully and says, no, then the litigant has no case, Google can do what it wants, well, then you've just enshrined the ability of big tech to permanently censor everyone, even though they're part of a monopolistic system. If you get rid of it, you've just torn the internet a new asshole. There won't be any platforms. What little content is still at YouTube would probably ban everyone from making content unless they were already verified priority creators. Like someone like me might get lucky just by having a 6-figure audience already. Everyone else would be gone. It'd be really good for the priority creators. But if you amend 230, you uphold it, but you make it clear that you have to stick to the actual intent of 230 that was incepted by Congress long ago, that would be great. It's the best possible outcome, and I am hopeful that the justices will decide that way. I am optimistic about the 230 case. Innerst. I'm overall happy that the Supreme Court is making a lot of good rulings as of late, but I'm a little disappointed that SCOTUS decided not to take up the case to undo the bump stock ban. Yes, they might take it up in the future. To be clear, they didn't directly uphold bump stock illegality being constitutional. Oftentimes what happens is SCOTUS says the litigant doesn't have the standing to make the case in the first place. We have to have an actual aggrieved litigant who's legally capable of taking the case up before us in order to take up the case. So they'll have to try again. Please do not do that, Kitty. You make me very nervous. Jack's Regret. Hello, Sticks. Who is your favorite American president? I really like Teddy Roosevelt. Clank on. Let's go, Brandon. Teddy's pretty cool. All-American dude. But I think ultimately Thomas Jefferson. I consider him to be the greatest president. Kitty, if you knock over the vegetables, I'll be upset. Those are going to be scarce and valuable. Think of them as gold bars. Troubled Cat. Thoughts on Holly's views on porn and video games? I don't know, but I guess he's against them and thinks that they're a terrible societal evil. I like video games once in a while. Don't have any time to play them anymore other than Pixel Planet. Princess. Android does have a Rumble app. Oh, okay. That answers the question. Eric Willison, don't hold yourself back on food videos because of a small, dimly lit kitchen. The perfect must not be the enemy of the good. You should see the crap quality of my videos on evidence, fat lock on evidence. Yeah, but I do want to make it nice presentation-wise. I just need a little more space to do that, and I want a better kitchen anyway. I kind of want an island kitchen. I'm going to become a decadent bourgeois boomer-esque person and just completely sell out and have a big kitchen. Herbs everywhere, and I'll fucking grow them myself. Michael Cricklow, our tiles in Virginia are being destroyed. Please help. Right now, we are solely on the attack against the Turks. By the way, again, link in the description on both platforms and pinned at the top of chat on YouTube. Take up those light blue pixels and start attacking the Turks. In fact, let me do a quick bombing run right now. You just do it in odd moments. It's fun. I've laid almost 7,000 tiles, and some people are apparently in the six-figure range. They've got a little bit more time on their hands than me. By the way, someone tried to make a really cool-looking 3D Ouroboros there, but somebody has sunk that into the ocean too. I think the clankers accidentally attacked that. Eaters of Dead, what do you think of the Jesuits? I mean, I oppose the Catholic religion, so I don't think too much about them. I don't think that they are the boogeyman some people consider them to be, but, you know, it's still superstitious hokum. Thomas Jefferson, thanks, Sticks, and I consider you to be the best YouTuber. Yay! Merrick Grimaldus, Fallout EU energy crisis also happened. Lol. Yeah, real life is becoming a dystopia. Let's hope it's one of the more fun dystopias. Fallout would be up there. So yeah, they're taking up affirmative action in SCOTUS. Next news story, Native American tribes dependent on fossil fuel resources rip Biden admin for double standard. A war on coal is a war on Crow, the Crow Nation's director of energy tells Fox News Digital. Oh my God, so many multiple layers of funny to this. First funny layer, you've got so-called native groups with semi-autonomy that already do their own policing and courts and shit, which is blatantly wrong, and they should dissolve the reservation system entirely. You want to give someone reparations? Okay, just give them free chunks of land and let them be there and get rid of the fucking casino bullcrap. I find the double standard hilarious. They're whining about Biden's double standard, but really it's a double standard from the so-called native tribe on the surface. They're saying, yeah, green energy, that's wonderful. They're constantly complaining about mine tailings and shit in the water systems that flow through these reservations, but we should be able to pollute them because we're special. We're special people because we were here before you, you know, to some degree, in some cases, even though most of the people on those reservations are at most a quarter Native American. To be clear, I'm supposedly part Abenaki. I don't put Native American, I'm not Elizabeth Warren. I don't claim that makes me special or more intelligent than other people or do any form of reparations or special rights. However, I do side with them, at least on one level. The Biden admin's war on energy has been bad for the economy. And if that means siding with the casino owner class on the Crow Reservation, then so be it. Yeah, mine the coal, grab up the oil, and then your people won't get the profits. All the bigwigs that manage the tribes will be the only ones that get any money. Usually, it's been not people with feathers in their hair that run things there. You know, it's people in suits. Just to be clear, it's people who have fucking McMansions and Bel Air and shit like that. Those are the people that actually run the tribes. But as long as you're producing the energy, well, I guess it's an improvement on the Biden admin and the shit that they're on with. Shloomy Schloms. Good morning, Sticks. Just joining the stream. Helps pass the time while driving trucks throughout the Midwest. Have a good day. I hope you're not watching the screen while you're driving. Next Vox article. YouTuber kills truck driver because he read his super chat. Deadly Raver, once upon a time, I also shunned candy corn, as do so many. One day, I mixed candy corn with salted peanuts. One taste, and I knew pleasure beyond that of gods. Do it, Sticks. Taste the snack of heaven. I don't like sweets. Yeah, no thank you. Salted peanuts are good. Kitty, again, there's nothing in there that you need. I don't think you eat carrots. You're not a vegetarian. E100 Omega 123, watched your debate with Miss Unions. I tried to give her a fair shake, but she danced around your questions and wouldn't admit she thinks union membership should be mandatory. Instead, my framing. Yeah, exactly. She lost quite handily. Got salty about it and then did her Copa parade on Twitter with her echo chamber audience. And attacked the show and the entire audience, at one point calling them incels and shit like that. The Happy Plague Doctor. Start practicing by playing Fallout Survival in your backyard. See how well you do. Well, I figured that, everyone dies and then there's shit lying around for you to take anyway. I'll just live in a tent, I suppose. Jank Uger's Sweaty Gunt on Rumble. The Turks on Pixel Planet are more worthy adversaries than the Young Turks. Yeah, I mean, they are doing a good job. They're griefing the shit out of chunks of Clankdom. It's just that we're 2-to-1ing them as far as the ability to do damage. Clankdom is already being repaired, albeit slowly. Meanwhile, it seems that no effort is being made by them to actually do anything about what we're doing in Anatolia. Hell, at the end of this stream, I expect a couple of those larger chunks of red will be completely gone. Next news story. Biden and the Democrats seek to flood millions into school model with questionable ties to critical race theory. This is not the first policy the Biden administration has supported with ties to critical race theory. Yes, and it is a $468 million in Biden's fiscal budget for community schools program. Community schools are focused on embedding culturally relevant pedagogy and restorative justice practices within its structure, according to the Coalition for Community Schools. So, according to their own words, it's sort of like the creators of critical race theory self-professing Marxism as one of the backdrops against which they created their theory, well, really shitty hypothesis system. This is denied by proponents of critical race theory. The Department of Education promotes the coalition, which includes the American Federation of Teachers Union on its community schools webpage. It comes straight from critical race theory. Mike Gonzalez of the Heritage Foundation, so not the most unbiased person to criticize it, just to be clear. Restorative practices is the antidote, so to speak, for systemic racism, the critical race theorists claim plagues America. They've been doing this. They keep playing word games. Critical race theory didn't go so well, and so they decided to just call it something else. It's exactly the same thing. They'll keep doing this, by the way, in order to try to confuse parents in schools into letting them teach lies to their children. To be clear, there is no systemic racism issue. There is no need for reparations. There are no cotton skyscrapers. And much of what people have been taught in school is a lie, and always will. As long as you're in a centralized educational system, whatever zeitgeist that exists at the time is going to try to perpetuate itself. Every incarnation of people is taught totally different stuff in school. They're always told that it is inevitably and objectively correct. Some of the shit that I was taught in school back in the 1990s is no longer considered culturally appropriate and true. And some of the stuff that's taught today, 20 years from now, the same. Look at medicine. Everything the Victorians taught about medicine has been rendered completely wrong for the most part. You mean that you can't electrocute people out of not being schizophrenic? Oh, goodness, you're a heretic. 100 years ago, they would have probably electroshocked you for thinking so. Parlock 480, it's hard to not prefer Putin over the leadership we have now with their arrogance and hubris. The Russians at least show humility. No, I don't prefer Putin. I class him as the same sort of person as Joe Biden. The Russians just decided in their particular imperialism, they wanted a more direct slice of the pie. Instead of invading a neighbor and occupying it, they're invading a neighbor and annexing a chunk of it on false premises. Garrett, have you heard about Pelosi's midterm predictions? Yes, which clash badly with Chuck Schumer's. I'm sure she didn't want to weigh in on the midterms and get egg on her face when they inevitably lose. But Chuck Schumer came out about a week ago and said, well, I expect us to lose the midterm elections. I don't think we're going to be keeping the House speakership role, directly fucking undercutting Pelosi. And I guarantee the second that he slunk off to the side, she tackled him. She saw him in the fucking hallway. Once she understood that Chuck Schumer had said this, she threw a fucking plate at his head and did a bitch screaming thing. It's sort of like they're a very unhappy couple. They almost act as though they are, by the way. Have you seen them in public? And she definitely wears the pants in that fucking relationship. And he knows it. So this is, in my opinion, by Schumer at least, I think it was a swipe at Nancy Pelosi, sort of a way to lay blame on her. And by countermanding him, of course, one of them has to be wrong. Schumer's predicting they lose the House, which would overjoy him because Nancy has less power and can be less abusive towards him. And Nancy Pelosi is hoping to keep the gavel and not be the first person to lead the House of Representatives to lose the gavel on 2 different occasions. But they will lose the House. And it will be funny. Alamandorius had a cat that ate olives, bananas, bread chips, and cheese curls for you Yanks. Not that he got them regularly or in large amounts. We had a cat once that liked licking pickles, dill pickles to be specific. He also ate carrot pieces. ID Moore, I'm probably your oldest listener. I'm a 69-year-old black female from Detroit, Michigan. Congratulations on the longevity. Although I do think there are some viewers, when I look at the analytics, they're in their 80s, actually, potentially. Miku Forex Spot, Biden's wallet is for Dems disasters. Politico. Eaters of Dead, when World War III is finally declared, will there be a 2024 election or will the demogods seize control using emergency war powers? I don't think World War III is likely to be declared. I just think that we should stock up, and be prepared, learn a new skill, shave down your budget a little bit. And if you have a stack of MREs around, that's good. If you have some emergency supplies, keep in mind, even if there's only a one, there are people, a lot of you out there, and I think it's stupid, but I'm not going to blame you for it. You play the lottery, right? You got a 1 in 100 million chance of becoming fabulously wealthy. Okay, you're willing to take those odds. What about the similar odds of a nuclear war popping off on any given day? It's like playing the lottery. Only this time you're hoping not to win. But even if it's never likely that it occurs, it's always possible. You should operate from that particular backdrop. If you have the ability to have a little bit of a pantry on hand so that you've got a few months worth of food just in case shit really hits the fan, it's a good idea. Imagine that there's a nuclear exchange. Let's say it's just local. It doesn't cause World War III. Russia just uses one tactical nuke, one really small one. They built a Davy Crockett-sized device, and they fire the nuke at a Ukrainian tank column. Don't go to the store for a week afterwards. Everyone's going to launch their ass into the store. There will be rioting and looting and pushing and shoving and killing over supplies as people say, oh my God, doomsday's here. If you're already prepared, you don't have to go out into the melee. That's what I would do. I'd sit here and I'd chuckle and shitpost. 24-hour live stream. Ukraine just got nuked. Yeah, congratulations, Russia. This is really great. By the way, here's the camera out the window where you can see a 25-mile-long convoy of cars as people flee the cities for the countryside. And they will. It's not a good thing. Always be aware that the problem itself, we saw this with early COOF lockdowns, is usually less bad than the human response. The problem, COVID pandemic, okay, it's blown over, by the way, by now. You're even allowed to talk about it on YouTube to an extent now. What happened and what did I predict would happen? Runs at the stores. Toilet paper was gone. Canned goods were getting sparse. The fresh food was almost completely gone. We went weeks without seeing any milk at the local Albert Heijn when that happened. There was no milk for like 2 weeks. People bought it all. The human response was panic. What do you think would happen if a tactical nuke gets deployed? Don't expect to go to the store for the subsequent month or so until things blow over a little bit. Have some food on hand. Have your extra, you've got baby formula, maybe toilet paper. That's a big one. Paper towels, you have to clean things up. Alamandorius, Sticks, it seems like where government's set up, it becomes a soap opera. Chuck and Pelosi are an example of this. Trudeau is 24/7 this. Yeah, Chuck and Nancy have a weird goddamn dynamic. Alamandorius, Sticks, damn autocorrect. You paid for your typo. The Grizzly, what do you think of a possible second internet architecture, and what do you think it would be the way to go about making it a reality? Yeah, we'd probably have to have Internet 2.0, as in an entirely separate internet, if Section 230 was fully repealed, or if it gets upheld in its current form. Either way, it destroys the internet potentially. Only through amending it mildly. It's not even a big amendment. It's just a reinterpretation of the reason it exists. Only that will solve some of the problems that we have on the internet. Now, Justin Hawk, one of the largest vegetable brands in Northern Europe. By the way, I'm not paid by them for this, but they do have a good product, I will admit. It's pretty good. To shut down production for 6 weeks due to high energy costs. I've got a shit ton of jarred and canned food in the pantry. I think we could probably go 4 or 5 months on what's in there, just if we really, really needed to. So we can feed ourselves through winter and everything would be fine. Now, of course, you don't want to have canned beets every single day, but, when you're roughing it, you might not have a choice. And there's pasta and shit like that. Plenty of tomato sauce, although I prefer to make my own. But if the tomatoes are all gone because people panic and go crazy, I'll just analyze it like this. Here's the problem. With this reduction in production, What's going to happen is that there will be less goods there. Demand, though, is the same. And so you're going to see less of it on the shelves. Demand rises, and therefore the price rises. They're saying that they can't produce anything because the energy costs are too high to justify even canning the fucking vegetables. That means that you're going to see more inflation of the food prices. And it will impact other foods too. If they can't get this brand, they'll be buying another brand. Demand's still the same. The price rises until the market equalizes. It'll be passed on to consumers. What do we know about some of the Northern European countries that are involved in the process of growing and processing this food? The energy costs have gone up by 100, 200%. That's going to be passed on to you and me. Well, not in the US because this is a European brand, which means it's probably got less preservatives in it, to be clear. European food is of higher quality overall. I've got to say the Europeans are superior to the Americans in terms of even the canned goods. You don't find corn syrup or soy binders and shit in a lot of the foods here. In fact, I think soy lecithin is the ingredient left out typically in Dutch breads, which makes it fluffier and softer, but not last as long. I'm not exactly sure, but there's some thing that they leave out of Dutch bread usually. And so this will increase the prices. I'm glad that I have a bunch of canned goods already because they're going to get scarce. People just start buying the products from the other companies. The problem is, without that chunk of the supply, everything's going to get thinner. You might not be able to find peas. And I really love peas in a lot of foods. One of my favorites. Eaters of Dead. Live in SLC. Right after the pandemic hit, we had an earthquake. Stores were empty for a few months. Yeah, it was hellish for a while here. And the Dutch never had like the kind of full lockdown situation for the most part that parts of the US did. Lolly, watched you for years, but first super chat. Got my 70-year-old dad into you as well. Cheers. Oh, thank you for that. A new clanker. You are never too old to clank. I suppose if you don't have any arms or legs, it'd be hard, but you can hold it in your mouth or something. Scooter C, I've been a clanker for years. I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, and have noticed my liberal friends have been silenced by Biden's ineptness. You, sir, are the bomb. I truly enjoy your genius articulation. Thank you very much. Yeah, it does seem like outside of the echo chamber, like the leftoids on Twitter and stuff, support for Biden really is lagging. I'm beginning to think that the polls may be wrong about his level of support, too. Speaking of Joe, yet another Joe Biden gaffe. Red alert, it's a fucking doozy. Biden, I was sort of raised in the Puerto Rican community at home politically. Yes, apparently Joe Biden now feels that he has some sort of camaraderie with the people of Puerto Rico, going there, of course, because the hurricane decimated the island, along with other nations and islands in the region. Cuba got curb stomped, for example. He goes to Puerto Rico, and the first thing that he does is politically grift. He doesn't just keep on topic and say, look, here's the aid we're going to give you. Here's our plan. We're working on logistics. Here's a couple of local politicians. They're going to help oversee the distribution. Hopefully they don't botch it like they did under Trump when I think the governor or the mayor of San Juan was hoarding water bottles in order to make Trump look bad. That didn't go over so well, but you never really heard any updates on that from the legacy media now, did you? I think years later, they were still finding pallets of them in otherwise empty warehouses. Let's hope it goes over better than that. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to go there and say, okay, I feel for you. I see down power lines and dead people and broken homes and cars everywhere and shit. But we're going to make it good. Don't worry. We're here for you. And then you leave quickly because you know that whenever you do that, government bureaucracy ends up involved. And months later, there are still people that are living without a roof over their heads. You don't typically go off and try to do the personable, I'm one of you story. Unless there's a real, imagine, politician, some president, they're from Chicago, and then Chicago has another great fire. Okay, it's all right for you to say, as a longtime Chicago native, I grew up here, now my home's gone, your homes are gone, and we're going to work together like Chicagoans always have. Well, used to 100 years ago anyway, and we'll rebuild back better and shit like that. That's okay. When you have no real connection to Puerto Rico, you're from Scranton and Delaware, you're from a Silver Spoon blue blood family in the upper mid-Atlantic states, basically. Don't go to Puerto Rico and try to claim that you're one of them. This is like Joe Biden's breakfast taco moment. These people are clueless. They lived such rich and sheltered lives for so long, they don't really have anything in common with anyone, and so he keeps making the same mistake. It reminds me of Mitt Romney there when he was at the, what was it, a NASCAR game and commenting on people's ponchos being really, what did he say? That they were really stylish or something, and they're like $5 fucking plastic ponchos. Wow, those are fancy things. Oh, I got to get one of them. Yeah, I'm sure. Okay. Alejandro Munoz, I'll say you'll even need a passport to access certain parts of the internet in the future. Normie social media will become internet countries. Possibly. E100 Omega 123, favorite movie about the nuke attack? Mine is Threads. I like Dr. Strangelove. Butt sack ball cheeks. I like the cut of your jib. You seem to have an amazingly good work ethic. Thanks for your content. Thank you. A pet. On Styx's advice, I grow food and can my own. Great. Yeah, make some, in my name, make some good pickled beets. Oh, fuck yes. I could eat those all day. I'll eat them until it looks like I got anal cancer. The Grizzly just wanted to say big kitchens are awesome. Moved into a place with a large kitchen from a tiny one. A great option if you can afford one. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hey, Giro, Sticks, big up, bro. Alamandorius, I had an anti-Trumper accuse me of being a white supremacist or that I supported him because of my German last name. He then proceeded to complain about minorities for the next half hour. Many such cases. I went to UVM. I'm well aware of the hypocrisy of liberals on the issue of race, ethnicity, gender. Some of them have told some tales that sound a little bit rapey, just to be clear. Never seem to have that from right-wingers. You go out into the boondocks, maybe you'll hear about cousin loving or something like that. I think some of the liberals do that too, though. Yeah, again, everyone, make sure to take the link at the top of chat on YouTube or in the description on either platform and help pixel in all those red areas with the ocean. We're still curb stomping the Turks. I think there are about 300 clankers online right now, so we can get this done in pretty quick order. I mean, just look at the country. That's 2 days of work there, and we've wrecked them almost completely. But there's still land there. I want it to be a giant bath. So, excellent. Now we have the next news story. Now, originally, it was just going to be the tweet that I was going to share out. But I responded to it and said, you know, this dude's an egghead, basically, and got blocked by Mark Lamont Hill. So, you know, have fun with that. Kanye West's decision to wear a White Lives Matter shirt is disgusting, dangerous, and irresponsible. Some of y'all will rush to defend him. You should ask yourselves why. I mean, he's got a trillion fans. You know, I don't have to be a fan of his music to recognize his talent and branding, by the way. Isn't he a billionaire literally now? He's getting up there towards Michael Jackson levels of wealth without the weirdness, potentially. No offense, Razor Fist, but, you know, I mean, he did say some weird shit, just to be clear, even if he wasn't a child molester. Kanye pisses them off. And what I read into that is this. He's doing this to get publicity. He drops an album and does this. He launches a new line of sneakers and does this. He's known for doing this. He is so much more intelligent than Mark Lamont Smith, by the way. He knows exactly what he's doing. Anytime that a rock star puts a pentagram into their music video, they know that they're going to get more hits on the fucking video and therefore more advertising revenue and more money, simply because people who otherwise don't give a shit about pop or rock music at all will talk about it on forums and gossip about how they're a devil worshiper. You see the same thing here. It's a deliberate antagonism. That is what the White Lives Matter sort of logo is. Now, the term itself, of course, is innocuous. It's a reaction to people saying Black Lives Matter. And people thought, well, that's not very inclusive. So they said all lives matter. No, you can't say that because that's basically the same as white supremacy. So people just said, okay, fuck you then. White people matter too. It is an antagonism of leftoids because the leftoids are convinced that white people don't matter. Some of them openly state this. They do not seem to see any issue with being racist against white people. I don't know buttfuck about Kanye's own personal beliefs with regards to that particular topic. I imagine that he agrees that I imagine that he likes selling things to his white fans too. And so he does, at least in that sense, care. But this is a branding, a marketing stunt, and he's taking them for fools. It's just going to sell more sneakers. It's going to sell more albums and everything else. He's probably having a great time. When he posted this, he probably immediately started laughing uproariously as he saw people both liking and disliking it and spreading it out over the internet like the tentacles of a goddamn giant squid. He's hilarious. He's done this shit before, by the way. He's excellent at branding. He's excellent at riling people up. Elon Musk, the other day. Elon Musk weighing in on the Russia-Ukraine war. and saying, well, here's my plan for peace. I think we should do this, and talking out his ass about something that clearly neither side would agree to. And then he gets hammered for it, but he's getting attention. He's self-branded. He's got all these companies, got Tesla and Starlink and the Boring Company and shit. Any attention for him, predominantly, is good attention. Kanye's doing the exact same thing. Not that I would vote for Kanye West. I wouldn't. I don't think he'd make a good president per se. But I do admire his ability to rankle people. Almendorius, oh, stop. We all know Razor Fist is your alt ego. Yeah, we agree on Michael Jackson with regards to everything except for Michael Jackson did occasionally do and say weird shit, like with the Green Giant thing there on that one documentary about Neverland. Is a little bit weird. Selectively edited, but come on, that these people are going to attack you anyway because you already hate the tabloid press. Politicians too sleazy? Vote Yeezy. Yeah, I admire his ability to piss people off. And then tomorrow he might do something that's really like seems leftist and piss everyone else off. He's doing it for attention. How much money did he make by wearing that shirt? Would be my question. How many millions of dollars worth of extra free attention that he doesn't have to spend a single penny on getting? How much money did he technically make by wearing one fucking shirt? Millions of dollars, I would hazard a guess. Excellent. And deserves it. He's trolling the left. I love it. I think it's great. By the way, how many people are watching right now? We've got almost 2,000 people just on Rumble. It's about, that'd be about 5,500 people watching live at the moment. And I've started to mouth off because I've run out of actual news topics here. Although I can always go to RCP really quickly here. We may have new news. And of course, we are on the watch for new inflation, unemployment numbers, GDP, etc. I think that'll be around the middle of the month, but the second that it comes, I want news tips via DM, just to be clear. The stagflationary debt crisis is here by Nouriel Rubini, Professor Emeritus of Economics at New York University's Stern School of Business. Yeah, I mean, well, that's been a thing for a while anyway. We've had stagflation technically now for a few months. It's just not terrible yet. But don't worry, you've got plenty of time for it to get worse. Also, polling update, if we've got any new polls. Rubio up by 6 in the Florida Senate race. Fetterman up against Oz by 6 in Pennsylvania. Mastriano versus Shapiro. Yeah, Shapiro, it looks like he's going to beat out Mastriano. But Mastriano was an underdog. Budd versus Beasley in North Carolina. And I think this is an open seat, if I remember correctly. Yes. Budd up by 1. That makes 4 out of 6 recent polls. You've got the Republicans leading for the North Carolina Senate. That's another big one. It's definitely one the Dems wanted to knock them out on. That would have sealed the deal for the Dems in the Senate, grabbing that up probably. Now they've still got to fend off fucking Herschel Walker, and they're not doing so well in Nevada. I'm wondering if there's any other good shit. Yeah, oh yeah, I mentioned this. Musk and Zelensky in showdown over Ukraine peace plan. The RCP, by the way, if you go to their main page, realclearpolitics.com, is a great news aggregator. I just wish they would update their polls more. Sometimes they put a poll up and it looks like it's new. It comes in literally on the polling page, but then you find out the poll is from like a month ago. And I guess the polling firm never submitted it, or RCP forgot to post it or something. And I never know exactly what's going on with that. Let's see. NetChoice v. Paxton. Fifth Circuit saves social media free speech. Yeah, we've already covered that. That's an update, I guess, about that. I wanted to leave California before it was cool by Bridget Fetisi. Nobody watched Trevor Noah. Yeah, we didn't even bother mentioning Trevor Noah the other day because he's such a fucking loser. Something like, wasn't it a 75% drop in the audience ratings for his slot over the course of a few years? I mean, not that the big, legacy media networks are doing well in general anyway, but that's pretty precipitous now, isn't it? It's like a CNN Plus. To end mass incarceration, catch more criminals. Maybe I'll have to look into this article, but I don't see where the logic follows. It's probably a selectively worded title. Election integrity, the 900-pound gorilla lurking. I thought it was a mule. Wink, wink. Will midterms reprise 94 in 2010? No, it'd be a Tea Party wave or something like that. Joe Biden's F word problem. I bet it's not fuck, though. I bet it's a different word. Oh, yeah, fascist. Okay, that's Joe Biden's F word. Anyway, whatever. Michael Cricklow, thoughts on Dahmer and the Netflix series? It's good. I don't really do the Netflix thing. I don't really watch TV or on-demand content. I prefer independent content generally. I probably won't bother to watch it. I don't know if they make an Albert Fish documentary, then maybe I'll watch that because it'll be completely depraved. Even worse than Dahmer, by the way. I maintain that Albert Fish is the single most insane individual that I know of that ever existed, and the second most evil after Pol Pot. I think Pol Pot is the most genuinely evil individual who ever existed. I like how I threw a bitch fit after he was in exile. I was like, oh, people weren't telling me what was going on. I had no clue about the millions of people dying. I didn't notice. Well, that makes it even fucking crazier, arguably. At least if you knew that it was going on, there's some mental cognizance there. He just had people poleaxed in the back of the head, pickaxed rather, in order to save bullets. He knew what it was going on. Trevor Noah is easy to despise because you know he isn't stupid, but chooses to spread horse shit. Yeah, I know. Well, he can't be that smart since he wrecked his own career at this point, I guess. I don't know. Are they moving him to a different slot, or is he just calling it quits? You'd think, I mean, when you're paid that much money, you'd think you can be like, well, I work 5 years, I can retire and go yachting. Fuck it. I wonder why these people never do that. Name change. Cuties has made renewing my Netflix subscription morally impossible. Yeah, that's the other problem, is that these on-demand services are extremely woke and getting more and more pervy and weird. And, you don't want to give them money. Disney Plus or some shit like that. There's nothing on there that you can't find things that are much more talented if you just search through the internet in general. If anything, individual content creators have rendered that kind of big budget production largely useless. There's no point to it anymore. And there are people on fucking YouTube who probably make CGI that's about as good as the crap that Amazon's doing with Lord of the Rings. Well, so-called Lord of the Rings. Bitey Dog and Rumble. Would love an honest opinion on my work, Sticks. Stay tuned by Liam Baker on Amazon. Dystopian fiction about big tech. Keep clanking. Thank you. I will always clank. People talking about Lizzo. I don't even know. Is she a musician, or I literally don't know anything about Lizzo? I know that she was at some award show and was talking about being underprivileged when she flew there on her private jet. And I know she played a 200-year-old flute and some people got upset about it, but I literally don't know anything further about her. That's probably a good thing. I have a feeling that I'm not missing out on much, just to be clear. Rumble put Sticks on the homepage. Oh, cool. Front page status. Everyone on Rumble, make sure to share it out, by the way. We've launched ahead of InfoWars and subs. Having lost narrowly to them in the race for 110,000 subscribers, I want to get to 200,000 before they do. We've got a head start of a couple hundred, I think. So it's a friendly competition. I think I was supposed to have a chat with one of their people actually about the race to 110, but I think it was we reached it too soon for that to be a thing. So I've bumped it back a little bit. Anyway, I think I'm going to go off now. So no more super chats, please. And the Turks killed Charmander. Oh, someone made a little Charmander over in what used to be Turkey, and I guess they pixeled it over. Please do, though, in my absence. Don't worry, I'll be on Pixel Planet anyway. So I'll be fighting alongside you. You just won't know it's me all the time, although I do have a registered name in chat now. I am Styx Hexenhammer over on Pixel Planet, so that is indeed me, confirmed. Keep pixeling in that red with the ocean blue, please, if you have spare moments. You know, you don't have to go to school today. You're sick. You got COVID. You're not allowed to go to work. What better way to pass the day? Pet, why do leftists obsess so much about sexuality as if it's the #1 topic we should always be talking about? Because they're not good in bed, so they have to live vicariously through perving on other people. Alex Bogey. Did you hear Winkin' Blinken say the destruction of the Nord Stream pipeline is good for green energy? Does he know something we don't? No, he lacks knowledge about all of the methane that leaked out of the pipeline, apparently. Ardent Party, greetings from Newfoundland. Please explain Clankdom thing. Oh, clankdom is just the imaginary kingdom of clankdom. Because we clank our spoons in our coffee or teacups. An old meme, never mind. We've got a clankdom on Pixel Planet. It's been raped a little bit by Ottoman forces, but it is being slowly rebuilt down there. We are located in Central Africa. That entire gigantic chunk that you see there, made up of yellow and red tiles, is clankdom. We also have colonies all over the world. We've taken over a chunk of New Zealand, parts of the Levant, parts of North American continent, some random islands and shit, part of the mid-Atlantic for no reason. It's pretty fun. In the land of clankdom, everyone owns a spoon, but we're capitalists, so you still have to fucking buy it. It's mandatory. Anyway, I'm going to go offline now, unless there's any more super chats. No. So, yeah, then I can do other things. That's about all. Peace out.